Hello, City of St. Charles School District. This is Rodney Lewis, your Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources.
And this is Jason Seifert, Superintendent.
Thank you for spending a little bit of time with us in this video. Our original plan was to come to your elementary school and share changes happening in our elementary schools. However, with the school closure, it has changed some things. So we hope you enjoyed the video, and we hope this clarifies the changes happening in the elementary. Jesse, you want to add anything before we get started?
We're excited about the changes we're making and moving forward.
Fantastic. Let's get started. So one, we do want to thank our ESIC, or our Elementary Special Interest Committee, for their participation and input. However, we do know that changes to the class sizes and instructional minutes weren't 100% agreed upon by all of our committee members. The final decisions were ultimately made by our district administration. But with that being said, we are excited about the direction and the direction moving forward and how it aligns to our big rocks in the City of St. Charles School District.
You know, I want to thank our ESIC group for meeting with us. We're going to continue to meet with you all. And we just want to make sure everybody knows that we've had really good conversations and that we don't have 100% agreed upon in terms of the class sizes and or the instructional minutes, but I can tell you that we have heard all voices in the committee. Yeah. And there are times where administration have to make some tough decisions, and we feel like we've made those and we've made the correct decisions. And we're moving forward with those changes, and we're excited about it. So thank you to all committee members. It's been a great group to work with. We'll continue to work with you as we move forward in the future.
Absolutely. All right, first let's discuss elementary class size. I think it's important to know the class sizes and where we are at the moment. And so, as you can see, there's a huge disparity among our class sizes. Kindergarten 12 to 22. That means we have a classroom in our district with 12 kindergartners, but we also have a class in our district as high as 22. And that same model is replicated first through fourth grade. The one thing going into the 2021 school year was we wanted to find a systematic way to equalize these class sizes and make sure it was fair and appropriate for all of our classrooms and all of our teachers. What's really important to note is maybe how the disparity has occurred. So we have three distinct class sizes, three documents that illustrate three class sizes. So here's the first one. If you go in our board policy, IHBR1 discusses class sizes in our policy. As you can tell, the original data was adopted in it was issued in 97, but it was adopted in 2013. So basically, K through 2, we could have 17 to 25 students in a classroom. In our intermediate grades, 3rd through 4th grade, could have 20 to 27. And below my circle, I apologize there, that's 5th through 6th, could be 22 to 30 kids in a class. That's the first document. Here's the second one. The second document is when we're talking about intra-district transfers. And that's policy JCB, administrative procedure 2. Don't worry about all the language, that's just HR stuff. But if you look at the circle, we're talking about max class sizes at 20 for K through 2, 22, 3 through 4, and 5 through 6, Jefferson, 23. But wait, there's more. As an internal HR document, when Kathy Bierman in HR is discussing class sizes and she is gathering numbers, then you see this doc above what I haven't read. On this doc, it says 20 to 25 for K through 2, but 3rd and 4th grade would be 22 to 27. So as you can tell, we have this class size, 17 to 25. We have this class size that says at the max you could be at 20. But then we have this document that we're using inside of HR that says it could be K through 2, 20 to 25, 3 through 4, 22 to 27. A lot of confusing numbers there. All of you as teachers and our staff, I know you haven't seen these three docs, but it became glaring to me that we had to all be on the same page with our documentation as well as how we look at class sizes, and that will ultimately decide how we hire teachers.
And that's kind of how we got to those wide ranges of class sizes that you've shown us in this slide here.
Absolutely. And
Or I'm sorry, this is 2021, but the
yeah.
slide before when it's, 6 or 7 students difference in a
Hmm.
class, in the same grade across the district. And that's what we're trying to get away from. We're trying to get to more equitable class sizes. Let me go back for a second too. When I
Sure,
say
please.
tough decisions, I mean tough decisions because there's just a lot of input and a lot of conversations and a lot of ideas and a lot of angles to a lot of things. And so as administrators, we have to take all that in and obviously stay child-centered, hopefully blend that with teacher or adult needs, as well as make sure things are equitable, systematic. And the third piece there that's very important, especially in this day and age with the closure that we've had, is being fiscally responsible. And so to kind of tee up the next slide, this
Yeah.
is how we fall into these class sizes coming up.
Absolutely. And thanks, Jason, for sharing that, because that's really, really important. All of those points, which we'll discuss in a few moments. So how do we move forward? We have one document that says 17 to 25. We have another document that says the max could be 20, but then we have another document that says K through 2 could be 20 to 25 and 22 to 27. So we've come up with these ranges: 17 to 20, K through 2. Third and fourth grade, 20 to 23. Few benefits with these. One, it keeps us within our board policy. And if you don't mind, I'm actually going to go a few slides back here. Our board policy, which still stands, 17 to 25 in a classroom. We're not changing board policy. We're going to stay within the policy, but now K through 2 will be 17 through 20. That is, I'll be very honest with you, among school districts, and I've worked for a few, I've had the good fortune of working for a few. Our class sizes are that 17 to 20 is lower than the school districts I've worked with that would have put, where I came from, would have put kindergarten at 22 is the highest. We are dedicating that our class sizes for K through 2 be at 17 to 20.
And many of our classes are already there.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point. They are there. And then we have in our third through fourth, as you can look at the board policy, it says 20 to 27. We want our third and fourth grade to be at 20 to 23. And these are still very small class sizes for these grade levels, which I will tell you that in my daughter's grade, when she was in third grade and in fourth grade, they in her school district, 24, 25 in the classroom. And we want to stay committed to 20 to 23.
I think the key too is, it's all relative, right? We do have some third grade classes and third and fourth grade classes that we're sitting at 15.
Yeah.
And moving up to that 20 to 23 range is going to be kind of tough for some people, and it's going to be hard, and it's going to be like, oh my gosh, we're adding 5 people to a classroom. But then relatively, in terms of what other school districts are doing or what's kind of the norm and also what's under our policy and what's fiscal responsible, 20 to 23 is a pretty good range to be in for third and fourth grade. And so we just have to get healthy. We have to get consistent, and we have to make sure we're equitable across the board. And we feel like that's still student-centered. There's a thought that, are we still committed to small class sizes? I'm committed to equitable class sizes and keeping them at a level where it is fiscally responsible, and it's also a good range for all of us. And I think that we've done that.
Absolutely. So let's talk about when we get to the higher end of our class sizes. So again, when we're looking at class sizes, there are almost no absolutes outside of the fact that, our class sizes can't have 10 kids in them, but we certainly won't have classes with 30 in them. So if you look at this here, we created a document to help guide what would constitute us needing additional help. So all sections with 2 students over the max equals a teacher's assistant. But I want to say this before I go into explanation, and I know Jason will jump in because we've had many conversations about this. We're constantly looking at them. We're constantly having conversations with our principals, and we're constantly evaluating the students in classrooms. So with that being said, What we mean by 2 students over the max is that hypothetically, if we have K through 2, let's look at, you have 2 teachers, 34 students. Let's say you get to 40 students, you're still at 2 teachers. Let's say you get to 47 students, I'm starting to have conversations with principals. Now, if both classrooms are at 30, if both classrooms have 22 kids apiece, what we're saying is we're thinking classroom assistant right away. And I want to repeat that. So classroom of 2, but now instead of having 20 kids in class, both of those sections, 2 sections have 2 more students in each class. So we've gained 4 students in the grade level. Now each class has 22 students. We're automatically thinking teacher's assistant support.
Again, we've heard that called teacher's assistant, teacher aide. We've had those before, but we feel like that's a consistent approach that people can count on for extra help in the classroom if we get to 2 over in each classroom over the highest number, the max number.
Absolutely. And so that would be 1 teacher's assistant for the grade level. Again, I understand if you have more sections, some of our bigger schools, if you have more sections, then you're saying 1 teacher's assistant for 4 sections. How does that benefit me? Again, this is one of those things where nothing is an absolute. We have to evaluate the students. We have to evaluate the circumstance. So, but what this does is it provides a guide for us to have the conversation with the principal, who would have the conversation with you. It's a path. And we think that with this path, we'll have a more structured conversation that, again, is equitable for all, okay? So we'll have the same conversations we'll have the same conversations with our administrators despite the size of the school.
And it gives us a framework to work from. And Ronnie's said this before, but we are committed to keeping class sizes as small as we can within our fiscal responsible range. And we will continue to look at class sizes all the way through August, all through the summer through August and even September. I think the biggest change that you'll see, and especially since I've been here for 4 years, we would quickly add 1-year-only teachers or add sections in spring very quickly. And what we're doing is we're waiting till August to see really what our number is doing. And really that is a consistent method and matter of going about looking at adding classes in all the districts. And so we're going to be looking at numbers. So the numbers could be a certain way this spring, but if they go up or down, we need to look at that. And so we are making sure that this doesn't get away from us. And one thing I will add to this, and you'll see these numbers, and sometimes this can get confusing, but if you kind of do the math here, there's a pretty good gap between getting a teacher's assistant and then bumping all the way up to that next additional teacher. So there's a gap there that we have to have conversations about what it looks like. And one thing that I will add to it is we're talking about two students over the maximum amount in both or in all the classes in the grade level to get to that teacher's aide. But I kind of think the other way too. So if we're around that 2 or less in each of the classrooms or in all the classrooms below or below the
minimum.
The minimum, thank you, the minimum number, we're really having that conversation about what that extra teacher looks like. So, or when does that come into play? So again, this is a good framework, but it's not so like rigid. It's just set in stone. And we're going to be watching it. We're looking at needs too in the different grade levels and students. There's a piece in our policy that talks about student needs as well in terms of adding a position as well. So I can tell you this, you can rest assured that we are watching this. And when I talk about I'm talking about the central office team, myself, Ronnie Lewis, HR, and principals. We will be watching numbers and making sure that we stay within this and make sure that we have the best class sizes possible for you all and also for our students.
And if I can just add this point, we know for some of our schools, your classes are within range. So we realize that, and we know for some of our schools it feels like an increase, and it is an increase for some of us. It is an increase. There's no doubt about it. But just know that the increase that you feel is where the rest of our sections or some of our sections already are in our various schools. And so we theoretically aren't raising class sizes. We're really just equalizing them out. It feels like a raise because if you have 4 sections, then you drop to 2, then you feel like I'm teaching more students than you were before. But what we're doing is equalizing the class sizes, so all of our grade levels have a constant number of students versus some having less than more. So some having 14 versus 23.
And if you are affected by this and you're going up from 15 to 20, to 20 or whatever, or 22, that can be a big jump. And
It
so
can be.
I just want you to know, we know that we're working through that. And we do have some spots where we have to look at, are we going to start the year with a teacher's assistant, or does an additional teacher need to be in place? Student transfers come into play with that as well. Our transfer system that we've kind of slightly changed a little bit as well. So I can just tell you again, we'll be looking at this very, very closely. And if you're one of those people that this affects, it sounds like, and it feels like we're changing, or we're just we're raising class sizes everywhere. That's just not happening. We're equalizing it across the school district. We're becoming more systematic, and that's what we're doing in all of our approaches. We've got to get to the point where we're systematic and we're equal. It's not going to be perfectly equal,
Right.
but we're equalizing the playing field in all our school districts, and that we're offering everything we can as equal as we can throughout our school district.
Yeah. Well said. All right. So this is what I talked about earlier. What this provides us is a system, a conversation that is the same conversation for all schools, and for us to have, and for me to have with all principals regarding class sizes. There is fiscal responsibility because we're staffing appropriately. And if you have 2 sections, and it is based off the number of students that you have. I do realize that some classes, some schools may have certain students with more challenging behaviors, etc. And those are taken into consideration as well. But we start with this approach first. We also, and again, this is a quality for schools. So our kindergarten classes, we should be somewhere between 17 and 20. And if we're beyond the 20 mark, if we're far beyond the 20 mark, we're either looking at adding another section. If we're just over the max by 2 in all of our classes, now we're looking at a grade level assistant or teacher's assistant. And again, like I said before, it's the appropriate staffing. And so now when I'm having staffing conversations with our elementary principals, we're working under the same guidelines. There's a guide for us to go forward with, rather than hiring additional staff early, but not having the students to support it, or adding additional staffing. Right, you're adding additional staffing late in 1-year only capacities, or even permanent status capacities, which then we keep that staff or retain that staff, and we don't want to rift staff. So this systematic for all, fiscally responsible, equality among our schools, and appropriate staffing really allows me, when I'm having conversations with principals during staffing conversation season, to make appropriate and fair decisions for all of our schools.
Well said.
Now, let's discuss the elementary instructional minutes. The why behind it all. The elementary instructional minutes is similar to the class size in the sense that we are searching for that level of equality among all of our schools. We want all of our students to be learning literacy the same amount of minutes, math the same amount of minutes, et cetera, et cetera. We believe this schedule will give our teachers 1 hour of playing time, and that will work great as they are planning in their POCs. I know that personally, when I was a principal, that hour, and we had hour blocks of playing time for our teachers. By the time you pick them up and walk them down to PE or walk on to music, and then our teachers take care of their personal needs, or maybe check an email or 2, and they get back to the classroom to start their POCs, you're probably working within the 50-minute range. But at least that's consistent with all of our teachers throughout the district. And that's very important. We also know that this instructional schedule, which was eye-opening to me, is that it doesn't only support the traveling teacher schedule, it shapes the traveling teacher schedule. And then what we're trying to do with this schedule, the minutes are the same instructionally. What we've done is we fit those literacy minutes, math minutes, in a schedule that is for all of our schools and not just one of our schools or two of our schools.
For me, the key here too is when you're talking about, we are striving to fit our core curriculum into the schedule. And we're probably a year away from that to really getting it where we need to be. We're going to be strategic a little bit with ELA. But you talk about our new math that we've implemented, and now we're getting into new ELA. And we have just looked and said, as administrative team, and said, we simply can't fit our minutes. What does that look like? All of our curriculum is important, but we've got to make sure the core curriculum fits. We're not quite there yet. We're hoping that we have about another year to go in terms of couple changes for next year or 21, 22 to get there. But we feel like this gives us a better playing field of being strategic and getting the core curriculum to fit. I also feel like that 1 hour plan is going to be really, really beneficial for our teachers.
Totally.
And we're trying to do all of this without cutting plan time from teachers' plate, because we know you need that plan time.
Absolutely.
And then, the key to this too, and some of the theme here that you saw with the class sizes, is that this says supports the traveling specialist schedule. We have to make sure that we're appropriately staffed moving forward. And not to throw this in people's faces, but, with the closure and the things that we're doing, and we're in an unprecedented time, we don't know what finances are going to look like in the state of Missouri for schools. And we have to be very conscientious about how we're moving forward fiscally.
Totally agree. It just goes to show, Jason, why being appropriately staffed and having the correct staffing, why it's so important moving forward. I mean, it's always important, but certainly the school closure has certainly highlighted the need and the benefit for that.
But like this slide is just almost the same slide as the class size.
It really
right?
is.
It's systematic.
Yeah.
The quality equal across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And then how do we enhance it for our teachers and our students to get the specific time they need, especially in our core curriculum. And those are our whys, and that's what we're sticking to in terms of making these decisions.
Absolutely. All right. So here is the DESE suggested minutes of curricular contents and the instructional minutes per day. So I'm not going to read them all to you. I mean, you can obviously read it, but we wanted to at least start here. Everything needs a baseline. And again, when I was talking about class sizes, the baseline was where we had 3 class size ranges. Well, here are the instructional minutes. Obviously, if you look at PE, art, music, they might be a little bit lower than you thinking. But again, this is DESE's suggested minutes a day. Okay. But I wanted this was the baseline and how the entire conversation toward instructional minutes started. Okay. Among the great work, I do want to shout out Nicole Adams and all the curricular teams, literacy teams that we've had in our district that have looked at instructional minutes at various times throughout the past couple of years to help us arrive to this point as well. It wasn't just something we thought of. I think there's a need amongst staff, teaching staff. I think there was a need from the curricular office. I think there was a need among principals that we really had to evaluate this and look at this and see what we can do to equalize it across the board.
It was definitely a team effort from curriculum and instruction. Nicole Adams had a big part in this and helping us with this. But again, not dictating, just saying, here's the minutes, here's what we're doing curriculum-wise. And then your principals, all 6 of them, have come together and said, you know what? We want to see how we can fit our core curriculum. We're not there. I want to be clear to that. We still probably have a piece to go again in another year, but we feel like this sets us up to get to where we want to be eventually for our core curriculum and the minutes that we're doing and we're offering kids on a regular basis. And we're excited about moving forward with it. So
this here is literacy, math, social studies, and all the rest. And I'm going to break these down to individual slides so you get a chance to see them. this is the proposed schedule that we want to move forward with next year, but I'll break these down individually. So first, this is the bottom. I think I have a pointer here, but this is the bottom where you see Desi's suggested minutes toward the lower half, and then the possible minutes for non-core, kindergarten, first, second. That's what this slide is here, okay? And so we're saying lunch for kindergarten, 55 minutes a day, special 60 minutes, plus 30 once a week, RTI time, arrival, dismissal. So this is breaking down all the time outside, around our content areas. Okay, so you can see it for kindergarten, you can see it for first through fourth grade, and you can also see it for fifth through sixth grade. And again, I'll give you the presentation. So Jason, I'll add the presentation in a PDF form, and so that way, when you get this email, you'll have this. You can look at it. Okay. All right. Okay. Go ahead, Jason.
No, I'm good. I just. Yep.
Again, this is literacy. The proposal is you can look on the left, it's kindergarten through sixth grade, and all the way on the right, the total proposed minutes for ELA, okay, per day, 160 minutes per day for kindergarten, all the way down to fifth and sixth grade, okay? And this, what you're looking at the top, gives the breakdown of the actual components of balanced literacy. Phonemic awareness to writer's workshop to writing workshop. And then here on the left in green, I apologize, you can't see the kindergarten, first, second, third, etc. But if you look under calendar math on the far left, if you go to 15 minutes a day, starting there, that's kindergarten. And then the next line down is first grade. The next line down is second, etc. There's a gray bar in the middle that separates both sections. This first section under the gray bar is fifth and sixth. That's fifth grade up, and then sixth grade at the very bottom. Okay.
And they'll see these charts in their entirety on their presentation.
Okay. Yeah. Again, you'll get a chance to see this. I'll just take this presentation, turn it into a PDF, and you'll get to examine it a little bit more. And these are the total instructional minutes for core, total instructional minutes for non-core, and then remaining minutes of the day. Again, apologize, but if you, the 265 is kindergarten, and then 270 on down, that is first through fourth grade, gray bar in the middle. The first 275 is fifth, the second 275 is sixth grade. So let's talk about the instructional minutes. So we're looking at 60 minutes of a specialist block. We have 3 PE classes per week at 30 minutes. We have 3 music classes per week at 30 minutes, 1 computer class per week at 30 minutes, 2 library classes per week at 30 minutes with 2 options. 1, you could have library in the block and have one outside of the block. Or 2, you could have a full library block and computer out of the block. That's at the discretion of the principal in terms of how he or she sees the calendar, their school master schedule, and how they see fit. And then there's 1 art class per week at 60 minutes. That is consistent with all of our elementary schools. And we're proposing a schedule that is consistent for all of us, same time. So 3 PE classes per week for all of our schools, 3 music classes per week for all of our schools, et cetera, et cetera.
So that, when we talk about the specialist block, then that's where that 1 hour of plan time comes in, because your class will go to PE and or music, and then the specialists will switch their classes in between, and then have 30 and 30 for PE and music. There'll be a class then that's at art for an hour, and then obviously we just talked about the choices for library and computer. There's going to be 30 minutes that are floating out there outside the block. That's either going to be the second library or the computer, and that's kind of up to the individual principal and also the librarian and the computer teachers to kind of work that out and kind of give them some room there. So what this does, again, gives us an hour plan time for our teachers. PLC work will be great during that time. Some of the concerns or some thoughts, obviously we're going, and some of the minutes are shifting. So, those PE music classes get a little tighter at 30, but the neat thing is you're going to see your kids 3 times a week for sure. And now I know now some of you do 3 and 2, but you're going to see those kids 3 times a week. And there's a concern there with the transition time, but we feel like you're going to be able to work that out. Both Ryan and I have had this in our schools before. We've seen this as principals that just becomes a real fluid and very quick, efficient way of switching kids in and out and then moving on to what you need to get done for that day. So again, systematic across the board. This helps us with our traveling teachers and really kind of gets us to where it's systematic and also equal across the board in terms of instructional minutes.
Well, you could be thinking, well, how does this really help with the traveling teachers? Well, before we had traveling teachers, and it was if we had one class teaching PE at different times and another class teaching PE at different times, or one class teaching music at different times, etc., then we had to hire staff based on the combination of schools that were having staff to support them. So we have a music teacher traveling to school A and a music teacher traveling to school B. We had to make sure that we hired somebody that could meet the minutes and the times of school A and school B, because it wasn't cohesive. We weren't on the same page. This puts everyone on the same page, because even our traveling teachers will be teaching in 30-minute blocks as well. Not 40-minute blocks or not 50-minute blocks, but all traveling teachers will be teaching in 30-minute blocks as well, unless it's art, which would be an hour.
And to be totally transparent, we still have some more smaller schools. They are still traveling, and they're we still have to share teachers, but this does clean it up quite a bit for us in terms of being efficient with our travel schedules. And then guaranteeing that the kids, as well as our teachers, are getting the same amount of minutes. We've had different minutes across the board, and we really feel like moving forward with response to intervention, the student needs, obviously our 2 big rocks. We're excited about our RTI specialists coming on board as well. We want to make sure we can guarantee the same amount of minutes for all of our kids. And we want to have that systematic, equal playing field.
Yeah, and thanks, Jason, for saying that. This does not eliminate traveling teachers. I don't know if we ever get to the point where we never have traveling teachers. I think we might always be in a position with our bigger schools, with certainly with Harrison and Monroe being our biggest. I think we'll always be in a position to travel. But then, the amount of staff you have to serve in these specialist roles, such as, computer teachers. We don't have a computer teacher for each school, so that obviously causes travel for that to occur.
So the plan minutes for classroom teachers, or plan minutes in general, are not changing in terms of going down. There's some different instructional minutes. Art goes up 10. PE and music do go down a little bit per 2 weeks, but we really like the fact that PE and music are guaranteed going to see their kids 3 times a week. So there's give and take. Obviously, the library's going up some. We're excited about them being part of read alouds and some things that we can do in the ELA and the library as well. And so we know there's going to be some shifting here. There's going to be some changes for you all as teachers, especially our specialist teachers. But again, we feel like it's a very systematic, very efficient schedule to go to. And I will tell you this, we're not chasing anybody else. We certainly don't have to be like everybody else, but as we look at other school districts, a lot of people are going to this type of system just because of the PLC model, and making sure, this really fits a lot of the RTI things that we're trying to get accomplished. Yeah. In terms of the PLC work, the collaborative work, those type of things.
Sure. I personally came from a system like this, and it worked really well. And I had a building of 515 students. And Jason, I know you had a big building too in your time as a principal.
Mid 500s, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it certainly can work. There's going to be some transition, and it'll be it'll take some getting used to. But it is our hope that you find the efficiency of it. And we hope our classroom teachers certainly find an hour block of playing time to do DPLC work to be extremely beneficial.
And let me add this to you. The neat thing is all of our principals are on board. they're moving forward with a schedule. They are committed to making this schedule work in their buildings, so they will work with you. You know, there's the question of, oh, we're having a whole new schedule. We're in this pandemic. We haven't seen kids. First of all, kids are going to be excited about being back in school, and they're going to be ready to go. And it's up to us to lead them through obviously these changes, and we can do that. And these changes are good changes. We also don't know that changes is hard, but we will get through together. And I know your building leaders are ready to lead you through this process. And that's a big deal, that they're all on the same page moving forward.
Absolutely. I mean, it truly is SCSD United, and it is our hope that these changes positively impact not only the teaching experience, but student achievement as well. So our principals will be sharing the schedules with staff as soon as they have them completed. And as you know, I mean, that could be at various times, but we know the majority of our principals are working on their 2021 schedule, and these changes will be included in that 2021 master schedule.
You know, in closing thoughts, we're really excited about the RTI specialists. If you've kind of read or looked at the job description, there's both parts, because RTI is both parts, right? Academic as well as behaviorally. And so we're adding extra staff to your buildings to be able to help with student needs directly with principals as well as you all as teachers. And so we're excited about that. There's been some concern that we weren't be able to put a full-time person in each building fiscally at this point, as well as proportionate staffing and making sure that, you know, our bigger schools have one and our smaller schools are going to share at this point. And if you look back at how we've done counselors and different positions before, social workers, we've kind of added as we go. As a superintendent, I would love to see a full-time RTI specialist in every building right now. Fiscally and where we are with the budget and where we are just in the unprecedented times, we needed to go with 4 of our buildings sharing an RTI specialist. But I want us to feel really positive, feel really good about that we are adding staff to help kids. Some of you might be thinking, hey, it's not a full time. It's still help. And we're excited about. It sounds like we're selecting some fantastic RTI specialists. I know. That's a really big addition to our staff and to what we're doing to meet student needs. So I just want to make sure that's a positive thing. I also want to make sure, you know, that, you know, I know these changes are tough, but they are the right decisions. I feel really good about the decisions we're making, and we're moving forward as a school district. And again, we are united together, and we have to be systematic. We have to be fiscal responsible, and we have to make sure that we are equal and we're giving those equal chances in all of our buildings and all the opportunities. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for who you are. And thank you for being with us as we move forward. I know we're all going to get on the same page. We're all going to move forward together. And I'm excited at the great things that we'll accomplish together next year. Absolutely.
Well, I don't have anything else to add. Jason summed that up beautifully. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And we hope that we get back to school in late August, and we start the school year off right. As always, if you have questions, don't hesitate, send us an email. We'll answer your questions quickly as we can. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your energy. We appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you, everybody.
Stay safe, stay healthy.